Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. No charismatic, over-the-top, flamboyant intro today. I think I'd rather take a break from being the other guy since I'm so used to it. I'm actually not even wearing any wrestling gear right now. I'm not wearing any wrestling merch. Just a regular old Dominic today. Mainly because I feel as though it was probably the best approach for this specific upload. I never upload on a Thursday. I only upload on Thursdays if it's something special, like if there's a pay-per-view coming up, considering I needed to move the Lightning Flash update to Saturday, and I have 7 weekly shows to go over. I hope everyone is keeping their sanity during this crazy time. We're about 3 weeks in now to this entire pandemic. It started at the beginning of the month. All sports leagues have closed down. I believe that there are multiple different countries and multiple different states here in the United States going on lockdown. I think Florida may be going on lockdown, possibly. I don't know if it's today or if it's over the weekend, but there's a lot of places going on lockdown. So I just hope that everyone has stayed safe. I hope everyone isn't as stressed out as I would assume them to be. I hope the stress levels have gone down a bit. I hope that you guys have been okay. I hope you guys have been coping well with the situation. I definitely hope it dies down sooner rather than later because, you know, it's weird. It's weird that life has seemingly just stopped. Everyone's going to online classes now. I hope everyone is keeping up to date with their online classes, whether you're in grammar school, high school, or college. I know I've been trying my best to keep up with my classes. I recently got about 5 online homework assignments done, 2 quizzes. I started a project. It's been a rather crazy 2 weeks for me, and I only expect it to get crazier. Next Thursday, actually, is my birthday. Boy's turning 21. Never thought I'd be turning 21 during a pandemic. That's something that came as a shock, but it is what it is. I thought I'd make this video considering that everyone's been talking about a documentary series, rather, that came out with an episode a couple nights ago where they discussed the life, legacy, and tragedy of Chris Benoit, a name that has pretty much been erased from the history books when it comes to professional wrestling. I actually have no notes right now. I did not take any notes like I usually do in my notepad, so this is very out of the norm for me. I'm really just going off the top of my head when it comes to this material here. I'm completely going off of my real-time thoughts, and I'm usually very in-depth. I'm usually very well prepared. I usually take 10, 15 pages of notes of 7 weekly shows, any types of news, rumors, and reports. You guys already know the drill with me. It's very, 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 very unlike me not to take any notes for a specific video because I've become so accustomed to it. I am a creature of habit when it comes to my work here on YouTube. But I feel as though it probably would have been best for me to talk about the documentary, talk about the life, legacy, and the tragedy of Chris Benoit without any notes. I feel it would really give a much more genuine feel, which is why I'm going off the top of my head when it comes to this type of material. A couple things before we get started. Follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at TheDJStorms, and add me on Facebook. And also, for collaborations and business inquiries, my email is StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. All links are in the description. If you want to, be sure to like the DJ Storms business page. Link is also in the description. And we could possibly get you to join the DJ Storms Posse Facebook group if you're interested in that. We just recently peaked 50 members. The Lightning Flash update from last week with Miss CM Smiley. Shout out to her. If you want to go follow her on Twitter, her Twitter is @SmileyBabyBoo. It's SmileyBabiboo. She was my guest, and we streamed for about an hour and 5 minutes last Saturday. Talked about AEW, talked about NXT. We talked about the current state of WrestleMania. We discussed Braun Strowman's idiotic comments on independent wrestlers. So if you want to go and watch that back, you definitely can. The link will be in the description. That actually just recently peaked 100 views. It has almost 20 likes. So I definitely had a lot of fun doing that. I definitely know she did. Definitely would love to do it again one day. She's actually in the process of getting equipment and material to bring back her podcast. That should be in a few months, possibly in the summer, once everything dies down. This Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Lightning Flash update for this week, for March 28th, 2020, will be streaming live on YouTube, right here. And my man Colton, a.k.a. The Blue Riot, you can follow him on Twitter, @Blue Riot with 2 T's. He is the creator of the Blue Riot podcast. He actually had me on his podcast for episode 4, where we discussed MJF, we discussed AEW and NXT, whether they should be switching nights. We discussed our thoughts on Cody Rhodes. It was a very fun time as well, so I definitely have to shout him out. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Would definitely love to come back, and I can't wait to have him for the Lightning Flash update this Saturday. We're going to be reviewing 7 weekly shows, and I do have news on where Braun Strowman has been and why he possibly lost the Intercontinental Championship. I do have some news on why Dana Brooke was removed from the SmackDown Live Women's Championship match at WrestleMania, and now it's just a Fatal 5-Way that Bayley will be defending her title in. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already done so. We're going to try and get this video to 20 thumbs up. That's usually my normal goal, 20 thumbs up, 100 views. We are going to see if we can get to 2,000 subscribers. We are on the road to 2K. I know the progression is slow, considering YouTube is a dying breed, and it is a rather difficult time with this outbreak going on. However, I know you guys can get me to 2K. I'm going to try and get to 2K by the summertime. I know progression is slow, but I have faith in you guys. Try and get me to 2K. Leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring? And what are your thoughts on Chris Benoit? All that material. Hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. Just had to throw that in there. Anyway, enough self-brand promotion. Let's get right into the topic of discussion. Dark Side of the Ring. They debuted a new season on Tuesday, and it was a 2-hour special talking about Chris Benoit. First off, the presentation of Dark Side of the Ring was great, and I think if you were to look for a blueprint for a wrestling documentary, if you were to look at the blueprint on how to produce a wrestling documentary, you would look towards Dark Side of the Ring. I actually have watched almost all of season 1 of Dark Side of the Ring. I saw the one with Fabulous Moolah. I saw the one with Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. I saw the Montreal Screwjob. The Bruiser Brody one was unbelievable. If you have not taken the time out of your day to watch the Bruiser Brody Dark Side of the Ring documentary, please take 45 minutes out of your day. It's on demand if you have Optimum as a cable provider, and it's also on YouTube, on the Vice YouTube channel for about $2.99, I would say. But if you have not watched the Bruiser Brody one, unbelievable stuff. Really, really, really hit hard. If you want a documentary that's just as good as the Chris Benoit Dark Side of the Ring, please go out of your way and watch the Bruiser Brody one. It is fantastic. The Dark Side of the Ring documentary series has done such an excellent job at explaining the dark stories of professional wrestling, and I think if they continue with this hot streak that they're on, I think I may just have to make Dark Side of the Ring reviews here on the channel a regular thing, because, oh my god, excellent documentary, Chris Benoit, Dark Side of the Ring. The presentation was great, first off, and I really love how they gathered up as much evidence as possible. They contacted as many people involved in the scenario as possible. And those people that they didn't contact and they didn't get to interview, the producers even mentioned them on the screen. They even mentioned Kevin Sullivan and how he denied any abuse towards Nancy Benoit. I thought that was great. I thought that was a very nice touch. They do not leave any stone unturned. That's definitely what you look for in a documentary. You don't want to sugarcoat anything. You don't want anything to be left out. You get as much evidence as you possibly can from as many people who will talk to you. And that's definitely what I love about the producers of Dark Side of the Ring. Very, very admirable job from the producers and from the creators of the documentary series. David Benoit. David Benoit, the resemblance is scary. The resemblance to his father is scary. But I do want to give props to David Benoit. I can only imagine how hard that really was for him to sit and discuss everything that went on with his father for as long as he can remember up until that weekend. Really got to give props to him. You can imagine how hard that was for him, especially in the end when he had to put his face down away from the camera and Sandra and Chavo came to comfort him. Props to everyone, really. Props to everyone, really, who sat down to discuss everything that went on with Chris and his journey and his story. He does seem like a very welcoming guy, does David Benoit. I actually was in a couple of his Instagram live streams, and he really does seem like a very nice guy. And just before anyone asks, no, I have not seen the interview with Chris Van Vliet. I am very disappointed in myself that I have not gotten to see that interview. I'm going to do my best after I get some college work done to go out of my way and watch the interview with Chris Van Vliet, because I do want to hear David Benoit's comments on the questions that Chris Van Vliet asked him. A lot of people have been telling me, it's fantastic, man, it's fantastic. I'm definitely going to do my best to go out of my way to watch that. They had Sandra, Nancy's sister, in there. Props to her as well. They had Chris Jericho in there. They had Jim Ross. They had Vicky Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero Jr. They pretty much ran through his legacy and his beginning days as a pro wrestler from the initial hour. The first hour, they ran through everything that happened with Chris, with him being taken to the events and him being inspired by the Dynamite Kid, and his days in Japan with Eddie Guerrero, which really pulled on my heartstrings. I'm not really an emotional person, but the moments that Chris Benoit had with Eddie Guerrero, it really did hit hard. It really did hit hard, and for a moment there, at least I did, you really forgot what happened after all of that. You really were just drawn into the story, the feel-good story of Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero starting in Japan and them not being the ideal look for a pro wrestler, and then they made the jump to WWF or WWE, and they catapulted to new heights, and they ended WrestleMania 20 with probably one of the greatest moments in WWE history. Maybe the greatest moment in WrestleMania history, period, when those two individuals who started from nothing in Japan and were pretty much told that they were not the guys to be headlining shows, and they ended up walking out with both world titles. You really did forget what happened after all of that. You really forgot the incident that took place with Eddie Guerrero, and I can't imagine what anyone went through when Eddie Guerrero ended up passing away from a heart condition, and it was so out of character to see all of these people describing Chris as a guy with no emotion, and then once Eddie Guerrero died, it it was pretty much game over for him. And I'm actually having a tough time getting the words out myself, because I really don't know what else I could possibly say. I really don't know what else I could possibly say. It really did cut deep. It cut deep. And it sucks that a brain disease that affected his emotional well-being was the cause of him being blind to all of the great things that he had in his possession even after Eddie was gone. Eddie seemed to be the only thing that was keeping him going, and pretty much after Eddie died, it was his emotions were just completely out of shape. That was the only thing that was keeping his CTE in check. It's scary to think, because he had a beautiful home, he had a great job, he had a beautiful family, he had all of these people, Vicky, Nancy, Chavo, every one of these individuals that saw the guy's family, Chris Jericho, and it was because of a brain disease, because of brain damage, that he didn't see it that way. He seemed as though he didn't have anything left to live. He didn't have anything to live for. And it almost really does expose, Vince McMahon for the selfish individual that he is, because he pretty much ignored the warning signs. He ignored the warning signs, and he didn't care, and he still doesn't care for the physical well-being of superstars. Superstars in the WWE still don't have health insurance. They have to pay for it on their own. I understand if back then, during the Ruthless Aggression era, I understand if you want to take a chair shot to the head, maybe once or twice a year for an Extreme Rules match, or a no-holds-barred match, or a steel cage match, or a Hell in a Cell match. I understand that, but to be doing that almost every other week, which is what these guys were doing, guys like Jericho, guys like Lesnar and JBL, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit during 2004, 2005, 2006, you'd have to think at some point a light bulb would have went off in someone's head saying, you can't be doing this because these guys aren't invincible. I've had a concussion before, and it was not fun. I had a mild concussion. I couldn't imagine what the concussions that guys like Chris and Eddie and Jericho, I couldn't imagine what the concussions that they had to go through. I had a concussion back almost 2 years ago, and the first 3 days of a mild concussion for me, someone who is not muscular, he's not 6'2" and 220 pounds, a regular guy like me having a concussion at 19 years old, 2 years ago, for 3 days I had to sit there with a rag over my head, and I couldn't be in front of a screen, I couldn't run, I could barely walk the first day, because I'd feel nauseous, I'd feel like I was going to collapse, I would feel like my forehead was going to burst. I couldn't imagine what these guys were going through. So at some point you would have to think, someone in that company would have had to think that there's no way that these guys could be taking chair shot after chair shot to the head. So shame on WWE for not taking the proper precautions, because I believe if they did, then he would have probably lasted a lot longer. Would Chris Benoit. He probably would have still been alive today. The wellness policy was a joke back then. That's something that I think we can all agree on. WWE really should have implemented a wellness policy a lot more stricter back then. I don't believe it was from roid rage. I don't believe that the events that took place on that weekend in June, I don't believe it was from roid rage. I thoroughly believe it was from CTE, and his emotions were thrown out of balance because of all of the concussions that he's had and all of the brain damage that he suffered. But realistically, no one should be taking steroids, no matter who you are, because it really does do more good than it does bad. It really does fuck up your body. It really does. The actions that took place over that weekend, there is no justification for them. They were horrific. They were inexcusable, and to be quite honest, I still don't necessarily know how you fathom that. I don't necessarily know how you digest that. Again, I'm having trouble myself formulating words because I just don't really know what to say on that incident. You would have never expected something like that. David Benoit, though, he does not deserve any of the hate and harassment that he gets. If anyone is the biggest victim in all of this, it's him, because he has to carry around that name. He has to carry him out. He carries around the Benoit name wherever he goes, and people just look at him and see his father. It's literally a mini-me. David Benoit is a literal mini-me of Chris. And it sucks. It sucks because the guy seems like a very nice guy. The guy seems like a very welcoming individual. The guy seems like an individual that you could literally go to the bar and have a drink with and literally laugh your ass off for hours and hours and hours, but yet he gets all this harassment and he gets all of these side glances and cold shoulders just because he's affiliated with the Benoit name. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. Guy lost his family. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think that anyone should give David Benoit any shit for saying that his father is still his hero, because we don't know. We don't know anything about Chris Benoit as a man, no matter what happened. We did not live with Chris Benoit. We did not experience what Chris Benoit was as a human being. Only David Benoit did that. Only David Benoit, only Chris Jericho or Chavo or Sandra, only they have any say on who Chris is, and only they can formulate their stances on Chris Benoit as a human being. I can't form any stances on Chris Benoit as a human being, and if David Benoit wants to say that his father is still his hero, if David Benoit wants to say that what happened was horrific, but that was not him, leave him alone. Leave the kid alone. Sandra, Nancy's sister, did say one thing that really is something that a lot of people should live by. And she said that carrying around the burden of hate is exhausting. And after she said that, I pondered for about 2 hours after she said that. And I myself am going to really try and implement that into my lifestyle. And I really think that everyone else should do the same. I am certainly a guilty man. I'm certainly a guilty man when it comes to hate. I know I say I don't have a lot of room. I don't have any room in my heart for personal hate, but I do carry around a lot of professional hate. I do carry around a lot of professional hate for a lot of individuals in and out of the wrestling community. Doesn't just have to do with pro wrestling. I do carry around a lot of hate professionally for a lot of individuals in this world, and I'm going to try my best, especially during this time, to implement that phrase that Sandra said. Carrying around the burden of hate is exhausting, and I'm going to try to really correct those mistakes and really work on myself to let that hate go. And I think that everyone else should. Chris Jericho really is a wrestling angel, as Sandra said. I never thought in a million years that Chris Jericho would have been the one to bring Sandra and David together. And I'm very, very glad that he did, and it definitely warms my heart to see. It definitely warms my heart to see those two together and those two reunited, and as if it they were never apart. We definitely need more people like Chris Jericho. We definitely need more people like Chris Jericho, I will say. The last thing I really want to say about the whole scenario, and I am definitely known for a lot of controversial stances, beliefs, opinions, statements, you name it. Even though nothing I really say is that controversial, although what I'm about to say next is probably going to be controversial, and this is not me trying to force any judgment on anyone. This is not me trying to force my beliefs on anyone. This is just my stance. This is just my personal opinion on the whole matter. We can hate Chris Benoit for what he did as a person all we want. And I thoroughly believe that anyone who hates what Chris Benoit did is 1,000% justified in hating what took place over that weekend in June. However, it doesn't excuse the fact that Chris Benoit was one of the greatest performers of the modern era. And my friend Michael, shout out to him, he's watching this. I have a feeling that he's watching this. And his favorite wrestler of all time is Chris Benoit. And I know he was telling me, dude, you have to watch it, you have to watch it, you have to watch it. And I did watch it. I wouldn't be doing this review if I didn't. I know that Michael, he would probably agree with me when I say that Chris Benoit deserves to be remembered as one of the greatest performers of the modern era when it comes to the sport of pro wrestling. And whether you agree with me or not, I don't really care. Whether anyone agrees with me or not, I don't really care. This is my personal stance. This is my personal opinion. And you're not going to sway it. You're not going to sway it. What Chris Benoit did was horrific, inexcusable, and extremely disgusting and appalling. And it's tough to fathom. Again, it is really tough to fathom what he did, and it's really tough to fathom why he did it. However, in my eyes, Chris Benoit, the man between the ropes, Chris Benoit, the performer, Chris Benoit, the wrestler, deserves to be recognized for his passion, his dedication, and his accomplishments. He deserves to be recognized for everything that he put forth into the sport. In my eyes, Chris Benoit deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The performer, the wrestler, Christopher Benoit, the man that stepped in the ring and gave you what is wildly praised as the greatest triple threat match in WWE history at WrestleMania 20 with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And I've watched that match back a few times. Matter of fact, I'm going to watch it again after I stop this video. Chris Benoit, the man, did something that is unforgivable in many people's eyes. And it is very tough for anyone, including myself, to forgive what Chris did. But the performer and everything that he did for the business and all the accomplishments that he has, his resume speaks for itself. All the years that he spent training, all the matches that he spent building up to that moment at WrestleMania 20, it's very tough for me to say that Chris Benoit, the wrestler, does not belong in the Hall of Fame. In my eyes, he does. Whether you agree with me or not, I don't care. I think I'm going to end it on that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into this video. I greatly appreciate it. If this video does well, and if Dark Side of the Ring definitely keeps up their hot streak, I am definitely going to make this a reoccurring thing. Thank you so much for tuning into the video. Like, comment, subscribe as always. And I will see you on Saturday for the Lightning Flash update. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys have a great day.